Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome back to a new video where today all of my neighbors are convinced that I have officially won the lottery because I have a beautiful 2002 Ferrari 360 Spider in the driveway. And no, it's not mine. A good friend of mine stayed with us last week, and on Easter Day, after killing a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, I convinced him that he needed to buy this car that I knew was for sale for a very great price. He wired the money to my account, bought the car on Monday. He flew back to Illinois on Tuesday, and the truck's supposed to come pick that thing up today. But I've been fortunate to have this thing grace my driveway and drive my neighbors crazy for this last few days. The 2021 Land Rover Defender is here, as well as the 2020 Hellcat Redeye, my baby, sitting in the driveway, and my 2005 Lamborghini Gallardo with the cherry on top, the 2020 Toyota Prius covered in dirt, because I have not been driving this car because I have figured out how to drive my Hellcat Redeye on a daily basis, and I figured out how to get great gas mileage out of it and make it completely make sense, contrary to what I've said in other videos. So today I'm going to share with you how you can make this, or any Hellcat, a great daily driver. But first, we got to roll that intro.
Running up the numbers, that's a lot of crime. Try and take it from me, must be out your mind.
All right, let's get started. But first, I told you all that I would be sharing with you some financial strategies that I use, as well as some motivation in each of my videos moving forward. And rather than put that at the front of the video and tick off some of you who just want to get right into the content and the topic of the video, I'm going to stick it at the end. So if you want to stick around for that, please do. And I will be opening up and sharing some of the strategies I use to accumulate some wealth, as well as some motivation that has pushed me and helps push others into achieving incredible feats of amazing performance in their lives when it comes to succeeding at business or in life. But first, we're going to talk about how I have turned my Hellcat Redeye into a pretty damn good daily driver. And the reason why I've done this is because I have a Lamborghini now, and I have a Hellcat Redeye, and I have that Prius. And if you add all the payments together with the new Defender, it's close to $5,000 a month. And I dropped close to $30,000 in cash last month in down payments. So if I could just eliminate one of the cars, eliminate the Prius, that would be nice. I do love the Prius. I think it's an amazing car, but I'm a car guy, and I can't leave the house in the morning with all the cool cars sitting there. It's just killing me. So I thought this last week, I'm going to see if I could drive my Hellcat Redeye and get 20 plus miles to the gallon out of it. Now, I've heard that it's been done, but I want to make it easy to where I jump in this thing and that's what I get when I go on my work drives. And I think I figured it out. So as of right now, it says 15.5 for average. But last week, I was averaging just over 20 miles to the gallon. And that's acceptable to me, to be in a car that you love, you enjoy driving. So let me show you what I've done. But first, let me explain something to you. When you're figuring out the cost to drive a car, it's more than just the cost of gas. It's also the cost per mile overall. When you figure in depreciation, and you figure in your insurance payments, you figure in your maintenance, you figure in any repairs that might come up. Thank goodness this car is under warranty, so I don't expect to have any repairs. But you have to figure all that stuff in. So if you're going to take on driving a Hellcat or a Hellcat Redeye or any expensive high-performance car as a daily driver, your cost per mile is going to be pretty expensive. It just is, and that's something you've got to accept. But that cost per mile really only hurts you if you plan to sell the car at some point, because you're going to get nailed on depreciation. You're going to get nailed on for the miles that you put on the car when you sell the car. But if, like me, after this last month, you've determined that you're going to keep your Hellcat, you're going to keep your Hellcat Redeye, or even your Scat Pack, and you're never going to get rid of it, or you're okay with it going down in value and ultimately being worth what it's worth when the time comes to get rid of it, but you want to enjoy something like this to drive every single day like I do, then I have the strategy. Now, I drive anywhere from 50 to 100 plus miles a day when I go visit our real estate offices in our company, and that can get a little crazy. So in a Hellcat Redeye, you can only imagine what it costs to drive. Now, normally, if I go from Orange County to San Diego, and that, let's just say I do 70, 80 miles there and 70, 80 miles back, I'm pretty much wiping out a tank of gas because of how I drive the car. With these new strategies, I'm able to start to get a lot more mileage out of it. Give you an example, I did 60 miles there, 60 miles back yesterday, and I only burned through a little more than a quarter of a tank of gas. So that's a significant shift. So this car is capable of doing things that most people could never imagine with a car with this horsepower. First, I set up a custom drive mode. So let me show you what I'm doing here, and I'll start from scratch again so you can see what I've done. So obviously this car has the setup already at 797 horsepower. Now you can take the black key, but I don't, because you never know when the zombies come and you need to get the hell out of somewhere and you need to kick in the 797 horsepower and boogie out of a situation or to someplace. But for normal daily driving, especially if you drive as much as I do, you've got to change this setup. So the custom setup, where some of you are saying, no, I want to set that up for racing. No, I'm talking about driving this thing as a daily driver, which is fun to do. Drop the horsepower down to 500. So now I've got this drive mode in. I've got it set up at 500 horsepower. And now I've got basically a Scat Pack with my Hellcat Redeye, and I'm restricting myself from being insane. So now that you've got the drive mode set up, and that's the drive mode you're going to set it in every day when you drive this thing as your daily driver, you're going to go and set up your dash to look just like this, because you need to monitor this. This is your average miles per gallon, and as you're driving, that's going to fluctuate and tell you when you're heading into a dark place for gas mileage. So you can see what happens when you stomp on it. It's going to go way down. Now what happens is you can easily get down to single-digit fuel mileage in this car, or you can drive it cautiously, paying attention to this, and drive that average miles per gallon up to close to or even higher than 20. But you've got to pay attention. So when you're on the highway, you want to make sure that that's on and you're watching it. So last week I just watched it and I kept my foot out of it, and I made sure I only gave it enough gas to cruise down the highway. The next thing you need to do is use the damn cruise control. I don't think I've ever used it on this car, so I started using it while I'm driving down the freeway, and it's great. I set it a little bit better than the speed limit so people aren't honking at me all the way down the highway, and then I allow the car to drive itself, and it's going to drive itself in the most efficient manner, which is awesome. It's going to keep your fuel mileage better than you could do it yourself. Lastly, now that you've got your custom drive mode set up, you've got the horsepower set to 500, you've got your average gas mileage meter in front of you, you're paying attention, you're using your cruise control, now it's up to you. It's up to the driver. So I created a little speech, and it varies day to day, that I have to give myself, and you've got to come up with your own little speech, and it's critical to this actually working. Otherwise, it will not work. You will just absolutely blow your gas mileage, and that's where restraint kicks in. My challenge is I don't have a lot of restraint, evidenced by all of the cars that I've purchased and stupid things that I've done in my life. but I need to get restraint, which means a little bit of self-psychology. So here's my variant of my speech that I'll give myself in the morning when I jump into this car. And here's how it goes. Listen, you mother... All kinds of people are going to pull up alongside you, want to roll race you on the highway, and you need to ignore them. You're going to pull up the stoplights, and you're going to feel like you were in pole position because you got the first spot, and there is a guy in a Corvette next to you revving his engine, even though you know he has no intention on even pushing the gas pedal very far, and you want to embarrass him. You know that guy in the Camaro that pulls up alongside you with the Bumblebee emblems on the side, who's revving his motor, is trying to taunt you into blowing what you've set up as the most fun, beautiful daily driver anyone could ever have. And you have to ignore that guy as though he does not exist. I don't care if the most beautiful woman in the world pulls up alongside you and says, "Stomp on it, honey, that car is sexy." You ignore it and you keep looking forward. You do not look to the left. You do not look to the right. You keep your hands on the wheel and you stay focused, because even the slightest tap on the gas pedal, even the slightest deviation from the things that I just shared, that I've set up here, will throw your gas mileage and literally cut it in half or by 2/3. And you, my friend, will be driving your Prius again. So if you like driving this car, you exercise restraint today, and you pay close attention to your gas mileage, and you drive calmly and coolly, and you keep your cruise control on, and when that guy flexes next to you, you don't reach down and throw it into 800 horsepower and embarrass the living crap out of him. And just know that you can, and most likely that guy knows that you can. Now, folks, that speech, or any version of that speech every day, absolutely will help you, but you have to do it, because if I don't do it, the second I get out on that road and I feel this beast underneath me, I know that every car out there needs to be eaten alive, and I have to reprogram my brain to stay focused on maintaining a great gas mileage that day. That way I can enjoy driving my car. Now, it's nice to know you have the power when you need it, but you don't always have to use it. With that said, folks, now let's talk about some financial strategies. All right, so as promised, I told you all I would share with you some financial strategies. So here's a strategy I'm going to share with you this week, and it is a little adds up to a lot. Everyone wants me to come on here and say, "Hey man, I bought Bitcoin and I got rich, and that's how I bought my Lamborghini, and that's how I bought my Defender, that's how I have my house and all this other stuff." No, I did not do that. I did not get rich off of that. Here's what I did do. I bought $500-600 in Bitcoin and a couple $100 in Ethereum, and then I set up an auto purchase in the Coinbase app for about $25 a week of each of those things, and I let it just continue to buy, because that's what I can afford to lose. I'm not going to put anything in Coinbase or any cryptos that I'm not willing to say goodbye to and see disappear and evaporate. With that said, it's done very well, so my less than $1,000 investment so far is close to $1,900. So over time, I expect that to continue to grow. The next thing is setting up purchases and investments that return money to you that are affordable to you. I don't want you to go start a Webull or Fidelity account and drop your life savings into it or your next paycheck into it and hope you're going to cash in. That is dangerous and it is scary. Again, I am not a financial expert, and I'm not qualified to give financial advice. I'm just sharing what I've done. Now, what I've done is, a few years ago, I started an Acorns. I got the Acorns app, and I started that little account, and I tied it to my bank account. So every single time I make a purchase on my ATM card, which is constantly, the little excess pennies, nickels, and dimes get rounded up into my Acorns account and invested into stocks, safe stuff. I chose a moderate mix of stocks, which it allows you to do. It even walks you through there. And over the last couple of years, I've amassed close to, $8,500 or almost $9,000 in that account without ever feeling an impact on my life. I also set up a $25 a week auto draft deposit into my Acorns account to buy some more just groups of stocks. So that has added up to some significant money without making me feel as though I'm losing anything. The next, I started a stash account, a little stash app. You guys can pull it up. And I started investing in blue chips and all that glitters, which is gold and precious metals, and a few other little mixes that they suggest to you. I just pretty much did what they suggested, and this last couple years it's turned into, with a modest investment of about $25 to $50 a week, that's turned into another $8,000 or $9,000. And then I have a Prudential mutual fund account with a couple mutual funds that I pay myself about $400 a month. I put that money right into there, and that goes up, that goes down, but I never touch that money. It just keeps going. That's not a retirement account. I consider it a performing savings account, and I just don't touch it. Because what my dad always told me is you need to pay yourself. You need to pay yourself before you pay anyone else, as though you are a bill. So I make sure that I have a whole bunch of different ways that I pay myself every single week, not every single month, because it's easy to bail out of that stuff. Every week. And I'm telling you all, if you just start with $5 a week or $10 a week, a small amount, $1 a week, anything would be better than nothing, because if you do it right, which these apps I shared with you are easy, they're simple for people like me that aren't going to go and start these big trading accounts, that they will add up over time, and they're not going to even be something you notice or pay attention to. And a few years from now, you look down and you've got a bunch of extra money that's compounding and growing. I do have a large Fidelity account with some significant money in there that I have bought and sold done a little bit of trading on. But I will tell you, I would not get into how to do that, because and maybe I'll talk a little bit about it in the future, but it just starts to be a little bit more risky, and I'm just not prepared to start pushing people into taking risks with larger amounts of money at this point until you really, really learn this stuff. And I really haven't learned it, but I have people in my life that do understand it. So that's it, folks. Pay yourself something, but put your money to work. Don't just pay yourself into a savings account, because your dollar bill is being worth less every single month that it sits in the bank, because we are printing cash, and that is causing our money not to go up in value, but rather to go down in value, which means you have to put your money to work for you. Send it out in the world to bring back some of its friends with them. So put $1 out into an investment, and that dollar will bring you back 7 cents, 8 cents. In some cases, it'll bring you back significantly more, but put those dollars out there. With that said, everybody, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate all your support. Stay motivated, stay respectful in the comment section, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. So it's Saturday, which means we're going with all the horsepower. Come Monday, going right back to 500, and I'm driving the Sucker every day. Woo!